On today's episode, he's hot as ice and twice as cool, and he's back to get revenge for a friend he didn't really care for that much, and he doesn't care how many innocent people he has to poison to get it. The film is The Return of SuperFly, the actor is Samuel L. Jackson, and the podcast is Nothing Movies. Hello, however you wish to self-identify, and welcome back to Nothing Movies, where we ask the question, what does Marcellus Wallace look like, and is it a bitch? It's the podcast where we go through an actor's filmography and choose the most anonymous and culturally untalked about movies that they've been in to decide whether or not they've got a certain something, or if they're just a whole lot of nothing. I'm one of the hosts of this podcast. My name is Kaz Lesgard.
He certainly is, and my name's Jameson Rafter.
It certainly is.
Oh, and did I wreck it?
No, you can say whatever you want.
And I'm Harrison Mooney, who is also here.
I did have an introduction for you.
Oh yeah,
I'll do it again because your credits are worth mentioning.
Okay.
But you know what? Like we're flying loose today. Today we're flying loose because you know what, folks. Sometimes life can come at you pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around and smell the flowers, you might just miss all of it. Sometimes you're living high. The next second you're out in May, or however that fucking Sinatra song goes. Sometimes you're living the high life.
What are you talking about, Kaz?
And sometimes you're watching television late at night, and then all of a sudden a thunderous roar happens, and then your toilet is destroyed. For once, not my fault.
A car crashed into Kaz's house.
Now, I just want to say, because like I have the habit of mixing your names up sometimes because like they are like somewhat similar. They both end on the sun.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled that you mixed up Kaz with Harrison before even I got the chance to fuck it up. Yeah. So
well, I mean, it's alphabetical.
Yeah. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. I can see now.
Yeah, it was like A, B, C, D. Okay, where are we?
Just
well, while you're on that rant, I ran through the alphabet in my head. So.
This is not the introduction I had envisioned for this, but you know what? That's okay.
It's one of your better ones, I'll tell you that.
Yes, you are hopped up on adrenaline. It's like maybe you almost died last night.
Yeah, he's got a new joie de vivre.
Oh boy, yeah. A car crashed into my house, and it smashed up my bathroom pretty bad. The wall behind where the toilet is still all cracked. It'll be there for a while. But thank goodness I wasn't dropping a deuce at the time because it would
or driving the car.
Indeed. I mean, like, I would have been in even more trouble than the guy who ended up driving the car because he only had a learner's permit and I have no license at all because I am a child. A 37-year-old child.
There.
Could be child of the times, Kaz. Who drives anymore? No one drives.
Not that guy anymore. That guy's not going to have his license again for a while.
I drove here. I probably shouldn't have.
There's a nice solid answer to my question. I said, who drives anymore?
You're one of the last.
Yeah.
Jameson.
You're the last of a dying breed. Jameson, question for you. How are your hands?
They're fine.
Are they good? Have you checked them both, your right hand and your left hand?
What?
I don't know.
Not recently.
You're looking right at... Can you do me a favor? Can you take a look at your hands?
Yes.
Harrison, can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Can you take a look at your hands? Both of your hands are good?
Oh, yeah, good hands.
Okay, well then do me a favor. Take those hands and hold on to your butts! Because it's time for a new trilogy. And indeed, we are talking today about the Nothing Movies of Samuel L. Jackson. And to kick things off, we're covering 1990's The Return of SuperFly, a movie he is barely in. And to do this is where my natural introduction would have kicked in here. I'm quite proud of this actually, so I'm going to say it regardless of the fact that you've already introduced yourself.
I didn't introduce myself. I just said some things.
That's literally what an introduction is, and also what a podcast is. To help us talk about the return of SuperFly, we have the return of a super guy.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
He is a former journalist for the Vancouver Sun. He is a playwright and an author. his new book, Invisible Boy, a memoir of self-discovery. Did I get that right?
You did.
Hell yeah, I only read that once. Is available for pre-sale, and it will come out on September 20th. It's Harrison Mooney. He already introduced himself, so that's who our guest is. Hey, buddy.
Hey, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm so sorry I stepped on that beautiful introduction.
Not at all. Not at all. That's fine.
I'm
I
really
only done this a
ashamed.
handful of times.
I'm very ashamed. I'm gonna go home.
That's the emotion we want people to feel when we have them as guests on our show. Shame.
Yeah, but I just do that to myself. Like it's my own thing. I'm gonna go home, stew in this shame. Probably my second book will be about how bad.
About this moment, about like
about this.
The night I ruined my friend's podcast by talking earlier.
He hasn't ruined it yet.
Yeah, no, it'll be called "This Man Needs No Introduction: A Failure by Harrison Mooney." By Harrison Mooney.
Okay.
For Harrison, by Harrison.
I would just like I would like my identity to be changed for the book. I don't subscribe to this. I don't want to be mentioned in the book. I demand that Jameson's identity remain unchanged.
Well, yeah, no, unfortunately, that's just not how it works for me ethically. You're in charge of your own name in my book. Like, if you are in it, I come to you. I say, hey, this is what I've written about you in my book. And then I say, this is the name I've given you. It's your real name.
You are this person now. You need to get your ass to City Hall and change your name, otherwise you're going to make a fool out of me. And then my children can't eat.
And then I say, do you want to keep this name? Would you want me to use your real name? Or do you want to give me...
Do you want to do a third thing?
Yeah, like make up a new name for yourself. You want to choose your own... And some people chose their own name. They
hell yeah.
I want to be known as...
Let's go with that option,
I want to be known as Corey. That's
No, I'm not going with that.
Yeah, somebody chose Corey. So, it was weird. It was a weird choice, but, it was a cool name at a time. I feel like it was a cool name right around 1990.
Right, 1990.
And as long as we're on the subject of 1990.
Speaking of 1990.
All right, Harrison, we have so much to get through. We have so many subjects we have to talk about, like the career of Samuel L. Jackson. But today we are covering the return of SuperFly. Now, much like the last time we covered a franchise on this show, we like to do franchises a little bit differently on this podcast. Much like how we covered Prom Night. You take that first prom night and you get the fuck out of here. You take Prom Night 2. You get the fuck out of here. We're only interested in part 3, baby. We're only wrap up that trilogy. That's what we want. We don't care about the context of the other movies. We're jumping straight into the third one. Throw us into the deep end. And that is what we are doing again today.
Do they still call it a threequel? That was
They
a thing for a
shouldn't.
while.
They should stop immediately, and they should be arrested and tried in a kangaroo court. Now, Harrison, I asked you to be on this episode because we love to talk about movies, and you have mentioned your love of the 1971, 72? The 70s,
73.
The 70s.
72.
It's 72. 72, the original Superfly,
Oh, yeah,
directed by
this
Gordon
one.
Parks Jr. What's your history with that particular movie?
Oh, that's a fun question.
You're so complimentary. Thank you.
When I was in college, I got really into this one class on romanticism. And then that led to an interest in this one particular literary trope called the Byronic hero. And the Byronic hero is basically Batman, and anyone like Batman. So you need to have, a weird past, you're dark, you're brooding, you're kind of separate from society, and then there's usually some kind of supernatural element. So the first one of these, I think was just Lord Byron himself. He was the first guy, and this is true, to wear his shirt with that top button unbuttoned.
A fashion that I carry on to this
That's
day.
right. Think about you Byronic hero.
Hey, that's going on a business card.
Think about you Byronic hero. Exclamation mark, and it should be in quotes.
Was it proven that he only did it so he could hang his aviators on the inside of it?
Yes.
I must have somewhere to hang my stylish glasses, but...
I'm very proud of those reflective silver glasses that I got for $14 at a gas station.
That day you actually hung your glasses from the scoop hem of your dungarees. That's
right.
Actually,
Everyone did it Fieri style before then. It was on the back of the head like a crown.
In any case, so, you know, I was reading about the Byronic hero, and then, as I often do, I was like, wait, what about black people? And that changed how I looked at this particular character, because it turns out that, you know, you can ascribe all of these traits to a bunch of literary heroes, anti-heroes usually, but, you know, there's a ton of them that aren't actually, like, featured in any of the literature around the Byronic hero, mostly because they're black. And, you know, this black Byronic hero, as a character, really the only thing that separates him from the white Byronic heroes is the blackness of, like, not just his identity, but, like, his reality. You know, so a movie like Superfly, like, yeah, he's basically just Batman. He's like a cool cocaine-selling Batman, just walking around with his long hair, like, being sexy, like, on the run from the law, like, doing his own thing.
He has his iconic costume. He has his iconic car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's got a Robin.
Yeah.
In Eddie.
It's very Batman.
Yeah.
You know, and
just
so...
finding other parallels.
You know, Shaft, Sweetback, Superfly, you know... Like,
all these, like, taking the law into their own hands.
Yeah.
All these matters in their own hands, yeah.
Yeah, and so, you know, the other difference often is that, you know, these white guys are just kind of, like, mad about something. Like, something that really aggrieved them personally. And then the black characters are usually just mad about the state of the world. The whole thing. It's like, oh, no, this is all broken. And so, you know, they're often up against the police. The police are often just bad guys, like, just obvious bad guys that, you know, there's no redeeming qualities in the police in you know, in movies like Superfly.
Right, and that's why these movies are fiction.
Yes, it's a crazy surreal look at the world.
Yeah.
What if? I mean,
yeah, so I got really into Superfly when I just wrote a paper on this, making my case. And I stole the last DVD copy of Superfly from the Rogers video in Mission.
Excellent.
I took it, I kept it.
Which is a very Youngblood priest move.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what that's what they said to me when they called.
Channeling your inner
priest. I
priest.
wasn't bringing it back. Yeah, and so you know, I really like that film. I don't like any of the films that followed it. No. Especially not this one.
No. Until this week, I had not seen the three previous movies in the Superfly trilogy. However, you and I, along with your lovely wife, went to see the remake, which it came out in 2000. God, when was that? 2016?
Yeah,
or
yeah.
some absurdly long time ago.
Right at the end of the
issue
times.
like that. You know, I didn't know Superfly from Superman. At that time, I primarily wanted to go see that because I was watching a trailer for it before it came out, and it was directed by someone named Director X. And as soon as I found out about that, I'm all like, I'm there. I need to see this. I later found out from you that he's a very prolific music video director. Has done a lot of stuff. The main thing I remember about the remake, other than it was a lot of trashy fun, is that one of the rival gangs was named Snow Patrol.
Oh yeah,
and we had many good laughs about that. About like street gangs named after like early 2000s indie bands from like Scotland or something like that.
And also just the stupidity of an ice-themed gang. Like, come on. It wasn't cool in Batman and Robin, and it's not cool.
I mean, it was very cool in Batman and Robin. Yeah.
It was cool.
But
we kept hearing so, yeah.
I'm just imagining like Snow Patrol like going to war with like, I don't know, Interpol or like the Fratellis or something like that.
I feel like Interpol could get into a dust-up with Snow Patrol. Like, not...
Right.
I mean, the British bands would politely play the most boring music in the world at one another, but... you know, Snow Patrol, the Superfly gang.
Yeah.
They could run afoul.
Snow Patrol has that song.
The International Police.
If I lay here, if I just lay here, which is like the perfect song for like getting shot from like a gang, like you get into a fight with Snow Patrol. If I just lay here. Yeah. That's
if I may steer us back to discussing the return of Superfly,
please, by all means, because we'll be on this the entire night. So this weekend I had a back-to-back. I watched Superfly and its immediate 1973 sequel, Superfly TNT, which only exists on a terrible ripped copy on YouTube because I don't think it ever had a DVD or a physical release outside of VHS. Not terribly good. This movie, quite poor. The remake, dumb fun. And
The original?
I liked Superfly. It was more of a mood movie, definitely, because it's a true independent. It is shot on a shoestring budget. It's them, going out into like 1970s New York with a camera and just filming life.
Yeah.
The extras are just people. They didn't know that they were going to be in a movie.
That is not the result of a wardrobe department. These are the actual clothes people were wearing in the early 70s.
Like 20% of it is just driving shots because they just needed to make the movie be an hour and a half. So there's lots of just shots of doing that.
And walking, strutting.
Yeah, I thought it was a cool movie to vibe with. Didn't love how Priest's triumphant victory came at the cost of him throwing around a couple of gay slurs.
Yes,
one step forward, two steps back. But I mean, like the main thing that I think most people associate with the movie Superfly, even if they haven't, is that soundtrack. Is the Curtis Mayfield soundtrack, which earned more money than the movie did.
Yeah.
The soundtrack easily outgrossed the movie when it came out, because also, it was independent in 1971, so it probably made like $30 or whatever, and then word of mouth. I don't know how movies used to work back then. But
apparently back in the day, you could get Curtis Mayfield to do your entire soundtrack.
Oh, in the early 70s, I mean, you could get a lot of these like the black soul artists to do your whole soundtrack, because they'd make like a whole album, right? They do all of this composing, and then you have something that's cool and supports the film and kind of lifts up the black community.
Yeah.
So like that was a big part of the Blaxploitation kind of film movement too, was like Earth, Wind and Fire. Like they were the guys that actually scored Sweet Sweetback, and obviously Isaac Hayes did Shaft, and Curtis Mayfield did Superfly, and these went on to be like the best albums in these artists' careers. So it was like I think just like a really fun collaboration that kind of only happened like in this particular environment. Outside of maybe I don't know John Williams' albums, maybe his albums are. He's also got a string of great soundtrack hits.
Yeah, it's Isaac Hayes and then John Williams.
Yeah, Curtis Mayfield, number one.
Yeah.
Followed by Danny Elfman.
Well, because we're talking soundtracks versus scores.
Yeah.
Right? Like John Williams, Philip Glass, they do scores. You don't get the film soundtrack too often anymore. I mean, like there will be like outliers. I can't think of anything recent. I mean, like
Suicide Squad.
Yeah,
Suicide Squad. Yeah, something like that. Oh yeah, Black Panther is the perfect example.
That was a good one.
Even though most of the songs on that album don't manage to find their way into the actual movie, there's only one song that shows up diegetically in the movie. I think there's only two.
In the club.
Yeah, and then it's All the Stars over the credits. I mean, great soundtrack, but like I would have loved it if like the entire thing was scored with Kendrick songs and everyone else in it. But to go off of what you were saying, Jameson, 1971, you could get Curtis Mayfield to do your soundtrack and just show up in the movie. Because like in Superfly, he's driving the car and it's Pusher Man, right? That's the name of this. The great, the iconic song from the movie Superfly starts playing. I'm all like, here it is. Here's the thing. Here's like the first verse of Pusher Man. Here we go. And he walks into a club, and then Curtis Mayfield's just there, and the movie
as himself.
The movie just stops, and Curtis Mayfield just performs the rest of the song.
Now that I think, I mean, I've only seen a small handful of Blaxploitation films, but there always seems to be a scene in a club where like the band on the soundtrack is featured. That happened with Dolomite's movies twice. I've seen that in Dolomite and in Human Tornado. The most obscure Blaxploitation movie I saw was called The Candy Tangerine Man, and that's just about a crime-fighting pimp.
An amazing title.
Yeah,
an amazing title, and I am adding it to my watch list right now.
There are like 4 extended scenes with the band, and it is like one of the shittiest like Sly and the Family Stone knockoffs you can imagine.
I need to admittedly watch a lot more films within the Blaxploitation genre myself.
I hate. You don't necessarily like. There are a lot of good ones, but there are some very good ones.
I just hate to say that the reason I had seen so many of them is because they would be on our regular bad movie nights. They would just come up that way because they were made cheaply. They were made certainly outside of a long-standing studio system, and it was guerrilla filmmaking. Yeah. Let's just get into this neighborhood. There doesn't seem to be much traffic out. you know, we got to film a scene. We got to any kind of like drug deal gone bad scene.
I mean, there's people who genuinely love the Blaxploitation genre who are, you know, older than us, then sort of like remember when they came out within that era, and then there are people of our ilk, of our generation, who have learned of these movies that you know, like we haven't seen through more contemporary films. You know, like a big proponent of this is Tarantino, a director that we'll end up talking about later on the show here. But like, I became aware of people, you know, like Pam Grier and Fred Williamson through stuff like From Dusk Till Dawn and Jackie Brown and stuff, and then you're like, who are these people? Then you go back and you learn of Coffee, you learn of Foxy Brown, you learn of
Three the Hard Way.
All of the films that Fred Williamson made, who he directed a lot of his own movies too. Like stuff like I've always meant to see Across 110th Street, entirely because I love that fucking song. That song's just a fucking jam, but like there's a movie associated with it, and I've never seen the movie. Don't even know what it's about. I guess people cross a street at one point, and they see what's on the other side.
Just like a chicken.
They come to regret crossing the street.
Oh, they're not going to like what they find. You're not going to like it. All right, well...
Street is a guy...
We're at about 23 minutes. Should we start talking about Samuel L. Jackson?
Yeah.
Ostensibly the reason we are here today.
The reason anyone's here anywhere.
Yeah.
So I got some information here. I got some facts ripped from Wikipedia, as we were just talking earlier. Is the most reliable site. It's all true.
Folk wisdom. It's full of folk wisdom.
Yeah. Harrison, what are your thoughts on Samuel L. Jackson as an actor, as a pop culture icon?
Oh yeah, you know, I mean, it's tricky because, you know, I don't necessarily think that Samuel L. Jackson is the best actor, but I mean, this guy has been coasting on like just the vibe of being Samuel L. Jackson like his whole career. Every time he shows up and stuff, like he just says lines in a cool way. You know, like, and he has iconic catchphrases that really just became iconic because the sound of his voice is so memorable.
He has one of the all-time great voices.
Oh, yeah. So good.
It's instantly recognizable, and there's just like a warm familiarity.
Yeah.
Whenever you hear him.
No matter what mood he's in, whether he's like being authoritative, whether he's pissed off at you, and you can like that pissed off Samuel L. Jackson voice like sends shivers down your spine.
Yeah.
When he's being funny, you know, he's like rightfully one of the most recognizable actors in the world, and he's had so many iconic performances in iconic movies, and in movies where there are like 10 great scenes, Samuel Jackson will probably be in more than half of them. He knows how to like pick the roles for himself, and he knows just what the audience is looking for.
Now, I didn't find out whether or not this is true, but my theory is that he has to be the most financially successful actor currently working today, right? Just based on the sheer number of franchises that he is in. He's in not in all of them, but he's in most of the Marvels. He's in Star Wars. He's in a Jurassic Park.
He is.
What else? He's in the 2 Incredibles movies. I mean, at one point in time, if you were into the video game Disney Infinity, you could conceivably play as 3 different versions of Samuel L. Jackson.
That's insane. Oh my god.
You know, yeah. And then, like, he has all of these, like, massive franchises, a lot of them that he's only in for, like, a handful of seconds. He just shows up in cameos and whatnot. But then he'll also do these interesting independent dramas. Sometimes he'll do like a Canadian movie here or there. Like, nothing's beneath him. He'll do like weird little animated projects. And then every once in a while he'll do straight to streaming, bottom of the barrel garbage.
Yeah.
And very often he'll release all 3 of those things within the same calendar year. You can always expect at the very least, maybe 2 at the least, Samuel L. Jackson movies per year.
Yeah, like
he's just that prolific. He just loves working.
Yeah, like certainly one of the most prolific actors I can think of. And you know, I think that, you know, the character actors like Sam Jackson just like they're so useful because you can just kind of plug them into your okay movie, and you know that those scenes, you know, and his lines, like those are going to be you know, above I want to say above par, above board. They're going to be, you know, better than average.
He won't drag your movie down.
He's never going to drag your movie down. You know, he's not going to give you a bad cameo. He's going to have fun. He's going to deliver his lines. It sounds like he doesn't really bring any drama on set. Like, he just shows up and he says, his, you know, I think of him as like the working man's Krusty the Clown, you know, just hey, it's Krusty.
All right, you Poindexters, let's get this right. 1, hey, kids, I'm talking Krusty. 2, hey, here comes Sideshow Mel. Again, here comes Sideshow Mel. Sideshow Mel. 3, bada bing, bada boom, I'm done. Learn from a professional, kid.
So, Samuel Leroy Jackson.
Mystery solved.
Mystery solved. There we go. Well, that was the episode. There we go. Born in Washington, D.C., raised in Chattanooga, Tennessee, he was an only child, raised by his mother Elizabeth, who was a factory worker and supplies buyer for a mental institution.
Oh, I want like Ken Burns music as you're doing this.
What's Ken Burns music? I can pipe some in later.
It's like wistful violin, like old-timey kind of stuff, like maybe some light piano.
All right,
like, what's the sound of slowly panning in on a photo to make it more interesting?
I don't know, but I'm going to type in wistful violin into YouTube. He developed a stutter in childhood, which he still has to this day, and he learned to pretend to be other people who didn't have a stutter. Now, you know the answer to this question, Jameson, so don't jump on top of it, but
pressure's on.
There's a word that Jackson uses to help him through his speech block. Do you have a guess as to what that word might be, Harrison?
I mean, I hope it's motherfucker.
It's motherfucker.
Yeah!
It is. That is both his catchphrase and the word that he helps to, you know, get his words back.
That's a great idea.
Which is pretty...
I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
Like, I may say motherfucker a lot, but you must understand that that's simply part of...
I need to say it.
I'm just trying to ground myself.
I can't communicate any other way.
I apologize, Madam President. It's just something I have to do.
What a world you're imagining for yourself. Wow. It's a vodka, isn't it? God damn it!
There's never going to be a woman president.
All right.
I'm picturing my life as a Wes Anderson movie, and I imagine it's like Holly Hunter or...
None of us are ever going to meet.
Can we just elect Holly Hunter as the president? Like, that would be great. She doesn't even need to run a platform. I just want to hear that soothing Texas voice just reaching out to us and letting us know everything's going to be okay. I want Mrs. Incredible to be...
Can you say the nukes are coming? In Holly
the nukes are coming.
The nukes are coming. Yeah. Your Holly Hunter's pretty good, actually.
Thank you.
All right, so
speaking of The Incredibles, let's talk about Samuel Jackson movies.
Get back to the status of the violin, the soothing violin.
Well, after Martin Luther King's assassination in 1968, Jackson was one of
Whoa! As long as we're on the subject.
As long as we're on the subject of living in a world where a woman will never be the president, Martin Luther King was assassinated in 1968. It's relevant because Jackson was one of the ushers for his funeral.
Oh!
In 1969, Jackson and several other students held members of the Morehouse College Board of Trustees hostage on campus, demanding reform in the school's curriculum and governance. One of the members of those board was Martin Luther King Sr.
Well, and that inspired the film Light It Up. You guys remember that?
I love Light It Up. I call my dog Light It Up. All right. The college eventually changed its policy.
Good boy. Who's a good boy? Light It Up.
Can we use any of this?
We'll find out. The college eventually changed its policy, but Jackson was charged and convicted of unlawful confinement and was suspended for 2 years. Now, after earning a BA in drama from that same school...
For that.
Yeah, bad attitude.
He originally majored in marine biology and then switched over to architecture before going into drama, which is the sliding scale of that, which is the descending circular staircase into the basement.
Stable job.
Yeah,
the road to black consciousness is paved with disillusioned marine biologists.
Right. So yeah, he earned a BA in drama. He spent his time working as a social worker, and then he became involved in the Black Power movement. But before he could become involved in any significant confrontations, his mom sent him to LA after the FBI warned her that he would be dead within the year if he stayed.
Whoa. Oh. Man. Can you imagine no snakes on the plane? Just like a better world for all of us.
I'm just like, can you imagine like the FBI giving anybody a heads up?
Just a warning, like, you better get this boy into acting, a lot of acting, or we're going to take him to jail.
Can you imagine if there were snakes on a plane without the movie Snakes on a Plane? It's just all like, this is terrible. If only I had some sort of frame of reference for this, but nothing like this has ever happened before.
It's just called Plane. Airplane, I guess it's called. And that was the inspiration for the film Airplane. What if there are no snakes on the...
Wait, it would just be Airplane.
What if we put an exclamation mark at the end?
We gotta get these people to a hospital. What is it?
And then the sequel could be Airplanes, but you take that S for a little ton here. Oh no, it's a snake!
Oh, that's how they got the idea for snakes.
What movies is Samuel Jackson in, guess?
So Samuel Jackson's career from 1978 to 1990 is full of successes, but an important footnote to remember is that during that time, Jackson was both an alcoholic and a drug addict.
Oh.
Mainly cocaine and heroin.
This is what time?
This is 1978 to 1990. So,
everyone was a cocaine addict then.
During this movie, where he is playing a crack cocaine dealer and cook, he probably went home at the end of the day and smoked crack. Because this was right on like the tail end of him getting sober here.
Okay.
He originated roles in...
If I was addicted to crack, I'd do crack at the end of the workday.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's like a pretty reasonable thing to do at the end of like a long day of making films about crack.
You just want to relax.
Yeah, you're like, I'm going to kick back.
Yeah.
How does it taste? It's great. It's crack. It's super addictive.
Incredible.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
Really good.
Just a single rock. Just one rock of crack. I'm just referencing funnier TV shows now. This is what happens when I get 1.5 beers in me now.
You haven't tried crack. It's great.
So he originated roles in 2 August Wilson plays. He originated roles in The Piano Lesson and 2 Trains Running, but he couldn't carry those performances over to Broadway due to his massive crack addiction.
I'm sure that was the main impediment to him getting...
How times have changed. Now everyone on Broadway's on crack.
However, I mean, interesting you should point that out. However, he's set to play the lead in a new adaptation of The Piano Lesson in September of this year.
Oh.
So it came around for him. He finally got there.
I've come home to roost.
It's like when actors get honorary degrees at different universities.
That's true.
Just like Bill Cosby. Which is relevant because during his early career, Jackson worked as a stand-in for Cosby on The Cosby Show. See, I tied it in. That was relevant. I did my research. So his first film role is in a 1972 film from acclaimed black filmmaker Michael Schultz, who did films like Car Wash and Barry Gordon's The Last Dragon. Plot synopsis of this movie is: a black radical activist and a young white woman find themselves drawn to one another during the racially charged atmosphere of the early 1970s America. And of course, with a synopsis like this, the title of this movie can only be Black Cream.
Oh, man.
What does that say at the top? The ending is so strong and so real, it will blow all of my staunch black sisters' minds. Rap Magazine.
Oh, man. That's just...
Starting off with Black Cream.
That's just so disappointing. I thought it was going to be called Del Curry the film, but I know that you guys don't necessarily get...
That's over my head.
Steph Curry's dad jokes I'm dropping.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, he, never mind. Anyway, this is a bad idea for a film, and,
This is Harrison Mooney's Judge a Book by its Cover review.
Let us just move on before I say a bunch of things.
He has small roles in Milos Forman's Ragtime, John Landis's Coming to America, and in the opening segment of the Eddie Murphy stand-up film Raw.
Oh yeah, that's right, he does.
He's like one of Eddie's uncles or something.
He just shows up everywhere.
He's the stick-up man in Coming to America, robbing McDowell's. 1988 marks his first collaboration with director Spike Lee in the film School Days. He would follow that up with Do the Right Thing in 1989, playing, of course, Mr. Senior Love Daddy, one of the great character names that he has had in a career of fantastic character names.
They just have him talking in that movie. He just sits in a room and says things.
Just riffs for like 5 minutes.
It's so good. He just, like him setting a tone, and Rosie Perez setting a tone with the dancing at the beginning. It's all vibe.
Rosie Perez dances at the start of that movie?
For like 20 minutes, it feels like.
All right, I'm in.
It's so long, and the dancing
It's
is
literally
like,
the first thing you see in the movie.
All right,
it's
where do I
so
sign?
intense. The most recent Pixar movie, Turning Red, references the opening of Do the Right Thing, and it's the strangest, reference.
I've seen that. I didn't.
You know, like May
Are you sure
doing all the
references
dancing
or-
at the
oh,
beginning.
okay, they do like the dance moves.
That's what she's. Yeah, because
Sure.
and those are the moves that she's. It's a really bizarre reference for.
Yeah, no, but in
like a Chinese Canadian Pixar movie.
in a hey, you get your references.
But I love it.
from all
I
over the
love
place,
it
yeah.
so much.
No,
It makes me so
Giancarlo Esposito's in this movie?
happy. Oh yeah, he plays Bugging Out. Ah, he's so good.
Oh, fuck.
We're sort of. I'm taking this as an opportunity to watch as many Samuel L. Jackson movies as I can. Did you end up watching Pulp Fiction last night? Or?
I watched Pulp Fiction last night, and I watched Cleaner the night before.
Right. You need to watch Do the Right Thing. Do
Yes.
the Right Thing is such a good fucking movie, and yes, in a film filled with fantastic performances, Samuel L. Jackson is also great.
Yeah.
He's fantastic.
It's on the list.
Good. Top five movie
yeah, he
ever
did
made.
3 Spike Lee movies in a row. He did School Days, Do the Right Thing, and in 1990 he did Mo Better Blues, which I haven't seen yet. Gotta get on that. He has small roles in the Al Pacino thriller Sea of Love, the Michael Caine black comedy A Shock to the System, the Alan Alda directed Betsy's Wedding, the early Halle Berry romantic comedy Strictly Business, the Tim Roth
Love that
addiction drama Jumpin' at the Boneyard, and the early Brad Pitt vehicle Johnny Suede. Harrison, you said you liked Strictly Business. What's that about? I haven't heard of this one.
Oh, I actually can't remember. I said I loved it based on like a memory I had of watching it with a girl I had a crush on when I was 15.
Well, that's the main thing. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, but like I actually
Did you kiss her?
I couldn't
give
tell
her
you.
a little smooch?
Absolutely not.
okay.
I was not even close.
The one that got away.
1990.
Not even close.
Well, she wasn't into Strictly Business?
No.
She saw that movie title. She's like, well, this guy's a bit of a dork. I'm not
You know, you put your
going to have
arm-
any fun with this guy.
You put your arm around her, you lean in for a kiss, and then she looked at it, she goes, Strictly Business, please.
No, yeah, I wouldn't even have dared putting my arm around her because my mom was also there. Just with her
Oh.
arms crossed, like, you better not try to touch her. I was like, oh, well, yeah, okay, let's just watch
God, I
Strictly Business.
remember I brought a date home once, and I wanted to have, like, some alone time, watch a movie in my place, but the TV in my room was out, and my mom and dad were having a bit of a spat. So mom was upstairs and dad was downstairs with us watching the movie.
Oh, horrible.
Yeah.
Remember what movie it was?
Was it Johnny Suede?
Brad Pitt's amazing hair in this. Yeah.
No,
I have
no,
no.
I-
Inspiration for the movie, or for the show Johnny Bravo?
I think it's definitely pulled from it. I mean, like, his
must
name is
be.
Johnny, and he has Johnny Bravo's hair.
He does.
So I gotta assume. I read the synopsis for this, and I couldn't tell you what this movie is about. I think Brad Pitt is a dude, he's got some hair, and maybe some things happen to him. And Samuel L. Jackson's in there, he's in the mix.
In the tub?
I believe he plays a character named Bebop.
Mm.
In this, he's got some good names. He's
Yeah,
got some
he
good
is.
names over the course of his filmography. So 1990.
I guess we're done talking about my
That's it.
parents, alright.
Oh yeah, did you have a?
I don't remember
Did
the
you have
name of the
an
movie.
answer to that? Oh, okay.
No.
All right.
I just wanted to mention that I can relate to blowing it with a lady. I
We all can.
I can't relate to that at all.
And that's
I make
why we have a
out
podcast.
all the time. I'm really good at it. 1990! The same year that The Return of Superfly came out was a very busy year for Jackson. In addition to a bunch of other movies, he has small roles as Stax Edward in Goodfellas.
That's right.
Hell yeah.
He shows up for like one scene and then gets shot by Joe Pesci, I think. He's also randomly in The Exorcist 3.
Yeah, that's right, he is.
He has
Oh, man.
a weird scene where there's like a dream sequence and George C. Scott is like walking through like a white room and there's like a bunch of like religious iconography, and then within the same scene is Samuel L. Jackson as a dream blind man, Patrick Ewing as the Angel of Death, and also Fabio is there, I think.
Is this like the 3 most important men in the universe in Bill and Ted?
I mean, I would pick. Sure, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know
Fabio
much
was-
about Patrick Ewing outside of the fact that he was a basketball player, but you know, like, I mean, if you gotta pick someone, it's a decent trio, you know.
Fabio
I just wish
was a big deal at that time.
Yeah.
Right? He was
I
a-
just wish they had done more movies together. Because you know, you get the trilogy together, you only do one scene in one movie. Bit of a missed opportunity.
I'd watch their version of City Slickers.
Okay.
about it.
All right. Okay. So who's Billy Crystal? Who's Daniel Stern? Who's Bruno Kirby?
Okay, so obviously, Sam
I'd like to remind you
Jackson-
guys we're 45 minutes into
And then
this.
as
We
a
haven't
bo-
even
this
talked
is
about
important. This is a bonus.
No,
This
it's
is
not.
important. And as a bonus question, we haven't listed anyone here. Who's your Jack Palance?
All right, so Sam Jackson is obviously Billy Crystal because
Of course, he's today's Billy
he's
Crystal.
got to do all the talking.
Yeah.
And then
Leave that to the actor.
And then who was the other guy?
Daniel Stern.
Okay, yeah, Daniel Stern is NBA legend Patrick Ewing.
Naturally.
Well,
He's the tall one.
Can't hit a free throw to save his life, and neither can he ever
Which was
stand
Daniel
on his
Stern's
mark.
problem in that movie.
Yeah, and then the third guy can be Fabio because I don't.
Sure, because no one remembers. Yeah,
But
exactly.
Jack Palance is played by Logan Paul. Because it's just the worst four people I could think of to be in a film together.
Great. All right. Well, put it in a turnaround. Yeah, it's surprising they haven't greenlit a fucking City Slickers remake at this point.
Oh, they will. It'll be like
Billy Crystal's probably holding on to those purse strings like, nah, he's like, I'll play Curly this time.
Yeah,
and I'll do it in blackface.
All right, well,
All right, so I want to talk about two more movies really quickly, and then we can finally get on to The Return of SuperFly, because I know we're chomping at the bit to talk about this movie.
Speaking of blackface, though, are you going to eventually get to the Tarantino? All of Sam Jackson's Tarantino roles? Because I have thoughts.
We can have a Tarantino sidebar. Okay,
Sidebar!
So something that I should have mentioned earlier is that Samuel L. Jackson's career is so massive, it's so huge. This is technically the Samuel L. Jackson trilogy part 1. We are only covering half of his filmography. We are covering the beginning of his filmography. So I'm only going to run up his filmography for 2 more films, and unfortunately, Tarantino has just missed the cutoff.
Man, you saved.
Oh, really?
You successfully avoided my spiciest Sam Jackson takes. I want you guys to know that was a smart thing to do. It was a smart move to be like, we're not going to invite Harrison to the part of this where Tarantino...
We might circle back to the spice.
We'll call you up, and we'll be like live via satellite. It's Harrison Mooney with his...
if you want to leave us a voicemail, we can...
an angry voicemail?
Put that in there. Something like this. Okay.
Just get really drunk and call you like, right, here's what I have to say.
I'll put up your most embarrassing file photo when featuring the call-in from Harrison.
It's just me with 400 cigarettes in my mouth.
Your tongue stuck to a frozen pole.
So a movie that he's in 1990, among others, is a movie that I've been fascinated since I learned about it, and I attempted to watch last night, and I actually got pretty far. I think I got about 35 minutes in, and I would have finished it if someone didn't drive a car into my house.
Oh, you're bringing that up
Oh
again,
my
Jesus.
Jeez.
Hey, I got a bad haircut recently. You don't hear me bitching about it.
We weren't going to bring it up, but since you've invoked it,
You don't hear River Phoenix and Stand By Me bitching about it.
let's spend 5 minutes talking about Jameson's Bobby Hill-esque flat-top haircut here. He's in the army now. Yes. Anyway, so he's in a movie. He's barely in a movie. I think he actually might be in this movie less than he's in The Return of Superfly, which he's done in terribly much. But it's a movie, and I'm curious if you've heard of this movie, Harrison. It's a movie called Death by Temptation.
I have not.
This is a movie that is produced by Troma, and it is a sort of, much like Superfly, not Return of Superfly, but like Superfly, it's, like a small independent black piece of cinema that is written, produced, directed, and starring a man named James Bond III.
I noticed that.
And it's a movie about an evil succubus who's played by the director's wife, Cynthia Bond, who just preys on cheating, philandering black men. And I guess the plot eventually involves James Bond III as an up-and-coming priest, and I guess he's going to do battle with the succubus. I don't know. I wasn't able to finish the movie. Samuel L. Jackson has a small role in a flashback as the guy's father, who was a preacher. I guess he died in a car accident. Spoiler. He dies in a lot of his movies. The thing that's fascinating about this movie is that James Bond III, he did everything on this movie. This was his magnum opus. He did not direct or star in anything after it, and from the best of my sleuthing, he has just disappeared. He has no Wikipedia page. I typed in, what happened to James Bond III? I don't, is that his actual name? Like, I don't know.
And it just brings you up information on, like, George Lazenby, or, like...
Exact joke I was about to make.
Well, my question was...
You're both wrong because it's Roger Moore as James Bond III.
Oh, yeah.
But I get it. You get points. You get points.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I just thought this movie's kind of interesting.
I was going to ask, like, how many James Bonds were we into at this point in the series? Because I guess that's his favorite Bond. That's why he wanted to change his name.
Actually, by 1990, they would have been on Dalton. So that would have been James Bond IV, actually. I don't know. It's a fascinating mystery. I don't have the answer to it. I considered maybe doing an episode on it, but the more I looked into it, this is a real cult movie. So it's too good for this podcast. It has too much of a following, and also Samuel L. Jackson is in it for like 2 minutes. As opposed to this movie, where he's in it for 6. Which
2.5.
Slightly better. The last movie that I want to talk about in his filmography, and then we can finally get on to the movie. In 1991, he made his 4th collaboration with Spike Lee. 1991 was the same year that he got sober, and he starred in Spike Lee's film Jungle Fever as the drug addict brother of Wesley Snipes. He would go on to win Best Supporting Actor at the 1991 Cannes Film Festival, an award that did not exist. They made it up so they could give it to Samuel L. Jackson for this movie.
I did not know that.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Good for him.
It's a fantastic movie. It's one of his best performances. It really is the performance that kind of introduced him to Hollywood as a whole. Obviously, there's this big personal story because he had all of those decades where he was struggling with his own substance abuse problems, and to hear him tell it, he went into rehab, he kicked it, he got clean, and then he immediately went onto the set of this movie, and he earned the best reviews of his career up to that point.
Wow.
I want to say, I've never seen Jungle Fever, but just looking at the poster here, it looks like maybe it's the thinking man's Black Cream.
They took what worked back then and said, you know what, there's something here, let's update this one for a modern audience.
I had a mouthful of beer. And
There's a kernel.
I nearly lost it.
There's a kernel of truth in Black Cream, and I think...
Don't say cream and kernel at the same time. That's not... All right. Well, we've gone on for an absurdly long time, so maybe we'll take a pee break here, and we'll drop in a charity spot, and when we'll come back, we will... in theory, start talking about the return of Superfly.
Okay, one thing before we take our break.
All right.
Jameson,
Yes.
when you went to your barber, did you say...
Jesus Christ.
Let him tell it. Let him tell it. Let him
Did
get it
you
on mic.
say, give me Reese from Malcolm in the Middle?
And then the barber said, like, I don't think I can do that. How about Gus from Recess? Okay.
I have had it with these motherfucking comments on the motherfucking peanut gallery.
We'll be right back.
The Supreme Court has overturned Roe v. Wade, and for a large majority of U.S. and other North American citizens, a new nightmarish era is beginning, one that we will all have to take steps to fight and campaign against until everyone has safe, healthy access to abortions and body autonomy has returned to the only people it matters to. This episode's charity shout-out is for the National Network of Abortion Funds, which gives a detailed list of the closest abortion fund near you, as well as Act Blue, which also provides a detailed list of funds that you can support. Visit the links in our episode bio to find the abortion fund closest to you. Or if you simply want to spread the wealth around, these are great resources with which to do so. We don't all have to agree or like the concept of abortion, but it's everyone's responsibility to fight for a world in which the individual gets to choose what to do with their body.
And we're back.
Yes.
So before the first try, first go around, first take,
Right. Yeah.
definitely the first take.
Samuel Jackson would be proud of us.
We didn't throw a bunch of shit out before we started this one. This is a fresh first take here. So before we jump into the plot of Return of Superfly, let's
For another hour.
For another hour, let's take like a second here. Let's talk about the poster. A pretty eye-catching, iconic super poster. Here, I at first thought this was a straight ripoff of the Kid and Play movie Class Act. And then I found out that actually came out 2 years after this movie. But yeah, it's, you see the guy from the back of his head, he's got Superfly drawn into his hair. This isn't a character in the movie. He doesn't like show up or
There's no
anything.
flat top guy.
Going to say.
It's a pretty interesting image. So that's, I guess, like the first poster. The second one adds our hero, Youngblood Priest, over here, dressed very James Bondish.
Also not how he's dressed.
No, in a white tuxedo, does not wear this outfit at all.
This is from a completely different movie.
It kind of looks like the outfit from the first movie, maybe a little bit, but again, he doesn't dress like that in the movie at all. I also love the tagline here. He's hot as ice and twice as cool. The ice is not hot.
Mm-hmm. No, it's not.
I guess that's my main take here. And then he's hot.
First of all, ice ain't hot.
I feel like
End of discussion.
the second poster is like what came back after revisions. Like, great idea. Yeah. No one in the film has that hair. Maybe,
our star isn't on the poster.
Yeah, we should probably try to put, Youngblood Priest on the poster or something. And obviously we should add a tagline. I'm thinking he's hot as ice and twice as cool. And they were like, well, that doesn't... They were like, no, do it right now. You work for me. Put it on the poster.
Right. And do we have enough space to mention that it features the hit single Superfly 1990 with Curtis Mayfield, Ice-T, and produced by Lenny Kravitz? It's very important that we know who produced the song.
Can we actually talk about, because that was my first big laugh when I watched this, is like, when that stupid song comes in, and it's like, doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo, 1990.
Yeah.
Like, you don't ever want to date your film.
I
could tell that was 90s hip-hop. Don't you worry.
I was genuinely anticipating that it was going to be like a 50-50 split. I was surprised how much Mayfield is in that song. Yeah. Ice-T is really just a featured verse.
Oh, yeah.
He kind of just comes in, spits like a line, and then says the year. There's very little, just a drop of tea. And then eventually we get, I think, what is the home video release, which shoehorns Jackson into it, which a lot of his early movies did. A lot of his movies reprinted the DVD covers to highlight his involvement, even though he's not in the movie for very long. Death by Temptation is another one that you can find a DVD cover with him on it, even though he's in it for maybe 2 minutes.
Yeah, because that's like a press photo of Sam Jackson. Like, that's not what he
That's a clip from the movie.
At the very least, that is him from the movie. He's wearing the costume he wears in the movie, but, like, that's the bare minimum that they could have done here. Yeah, but The Return of Superfly, it's directed by Sig Shore, this guy.
Oh my god.
Of course, this is the guy who directs the third movie in the storied...
Look at that expression on his face. He's like,
huh?
You want me to direct what? Where?
But this guy is tied to this franchise. He's produced all of the movies. He was the producer of the original Superfly. He put the bulk of the money into that production, on a production that was primarily... It was one of the first film crews that was primarily black people. Yeah. So, like the film crew at the time, like they were the ones running around getting the movie made, and he was just the money behind it. But, he was a film producer in the 70s, obviously. He brought in a lot of, like, dubbed foreign films. He brought in, like, some, like, Fellini stuff. So he was kind of like a Weinstein of his time, just without, like, the touching and the bad
creepy stuff.
The creepy stuff, yeah. Directed, like, a handful of other movies. And he directed a movie called That's the Way of the World, which is the classic screen pairing of Harvey Keitel and Earth, Wind, and Fire. Yeah, but
it has Shining Star. That's one of their best songs.
Is that guy holding a oh no, he's giving a big thumbs down. I thought he was holding a hamburger for a second. Yeah, but in 1971 he directs Superfly, which of course was directed by Gordon Parks Jr., the son of Gordon Parks, who directed the movie Shaft. So you got father and son doing the two staples of like the Blaxploitation like classics coming out here. Superfly TNT came out the next year. They couldn't convince Gordon Parks Jr. to come back and do it, so this movie is directed by Youngblood Priest himself, Ron O'Neal. And it's a weird movie where Priest sticks around in Rome for a lot of the time, playing cards with people.
Can we quickly talk about that Superfly TNT also features a screenplay by Alex Haley
of Roots.
And the autobiography of Malcolm X.
Right, and the script very much is Priest going to Africa and rediscovering his roots. He's just like a former drug dealer hanging out in Rome, Italy with his girlfriend, and he meets this African politician, and the politician kind of convinces him to help this gun smuggling operation, because his people are being overwhelmed by white nationalists or whatever, and so the end of the movie is Priest goes to Africa and he ends up in jail, and then he ends up MacGyvering his way out of jail and electrocutes one of the people. And I'm making it sound a lot more interesting than it is. It's very boring, and you know what Jameson looks like to me right now? He looks like a very young Philip Seymour Hoffman. I'm talking like Scent of a Woman era Philip Hoffman, before he added the Seymour into his name. Much like Sam Jackson is credited as Sam Jackson in this movie. He dropped the ULL. He's not going. He said, "Get that out of here."
Boy, I really wish you were sitting on your toilet at 9:30 last night.
You wish for my death? Wow.
Full on.
That last one was a compliment. Philip Seymour Hoffman is an attractive man.
All right, I take it back. I don't wish for your death, Gaz.
I feel like
Thanks, I guess.
I feel like Jameson is one reference away from open hand slapping me, so I don't want to make a G.I. Jane reference, but obviously it would be so apropos, and it's I'm having a really hard time.
All right,
yeah,
well,
what an episode for me to come in looking like a fucking skinhead Nazi.
You don't look like I have no hair, motherfucker. I'm the one that gets people looking at me side eyed.
Oh, thanks for making me feel better, Kaz.
Right.
Thank you.
How'd you come out of this looking like the bad guy?
Hey, look, man. Look.
You need to have more guile, and of course look less like
Guile. Woo! Just Sonic boom me the fuck out of here.
Christ. All right. Let's let Jameson. Let's let Jameson do what he wants to do. Let's run down the plot of this terrible movie. Did we mention this movie sucks?
Yeah, this is a boring piece of shit. Just gathering my thoughts here. So I did not see any of the other SuperFly movies. You did your homework. You watched the first two. So what's the story here? This was released in '89, and the original two came out in the '70s.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the resurgence of the franchise. I know the original star did not come back, play a Youngblood Priest, but someone just somewhere down the line decided we need to revive this franchise for a new generation because the '90s are upon us. And we need a classic hero to come back. Let's get SuperFly.
Specifically, the white producer of the franchise decided we need to squeeze more blood from this stone.
Gotcha. Shore needed more money for whatever he was doing. Something weird, I'm sure. Did you Google? Because I'm sure that
there's not a lot. I don't know. He was married to the same woman for 30 years. I don't know. He seemed like an okay guy. Didn't dig up anything crazy on him. I don't know. He's long dead, so we can make aspersions about Sing Shore.
Of unkind assumptions.
He ate orphans. I don't know. Who's to say?
Have you guys ever seen Badass?
Yes. The Mario Van Peebles movie about the making of Sweet Sweetback. Yes,
yeah,
I have seen that, and I have not actually seen Sweet Sweetback, but I've seen. Badass is a great movie. It's awesome. It's maybe the best thing Mario Van Peebles has ever done.
Yeah. But in that he kind of just showed how difficult it is, not just to get movies made, but to get black movies made, and then you always have to just kiss some white producer's
There's
ass.
usually white money behind it. I can't remember exactly, but I'm sure that's a plot point in the Dolomite movie as well. I'm sure he had to go kiss some sort of boot or whatever. But behind all of these black classics, there is white people profiting off of it.
Yeah,
hence the term Blaxploitation.
Yeah, and then continuing to profit as they just kind of trample on the legacy of these characters, and put out these just kind of worsening sequels that eventually turn these kind of powerful countercultural figures into punchlines for podcasts by white guys.
Years later by two white guys who have one black friend and was able to twist his arm into fucking
So, you know, thanks to Sig Shore for his continued... The emotional labor he continues to extract from the black community.
What I will say is that he was not successful. This movie was not a financial success or a critical success in any way. In fact, it debuted at number 18 at the box office.
There were 18 films. Okay, I mean, I'm picturing like one theater. I don't know why, but I'm like, wow, of all the 18 films that Cineplex Odeon.
I mean, there were a lot of holdovers. I mean, back in that day, they did like remounts of films and stuff like that. There was usually like a Disney cartoon that was like doing like major bank, like I don't know, like they would like re-release like Fox and the Hound or something like that. Interestingly, the movie that beat it at number 17, opening in 14 theaters before opening wide, was that year's eventual Best Picture winner, Dances with Wolves.
Whoa!
I mean, Dances with Wolves, I think, is a better made movie.
I assume that you looked up what was number 1 at the box office.
Yes, it was Child's Play 2.
There you go.
That's what everyone was going to see. I bet this movie came out in like 8 theaters. Like I think its place on the box office is largely because it was barely released. It probably escaped.
Yeah. Despite that pretty banging soundtrack.
Well, but they got Curtis Mayfield back.
Yeah.
Which I will say is 1 point in its favor over Superfly TNT. Superfly TNT is desperately missing the Curtis Mayfield soundtrack. They got like an African rhythm band to do the soundtrack for it. Like they also did release like the soundtrack for Superfly TNT. They tried to like release it as like a thing, but like just a different genre of music entirely.
Yeah.
For this one, Sig Shore was all like, we gotta get Curtis back.
Yeah.
We gotta put as much Curtis in this as we can, and I'll just say, not enough. Not enough to justify watching this for an hour and a half.
Yeah. Well, certainly not enough Curtis Mayfield, and yet every fucking scene of this movie, it's underscored by a different song.
This is, if it's 1992, this would have been after Curtis Mayfield was paralyzed on stage by a speaker falling on him during a performance.
Damn!
Holy shit.
Yeah, so, I mean, you know, I don't actually know for sure, how he composed this or how much input he actually had, but I know that was, like, after the horrible injury that ended his performing career. So his inclusion in the soundtrack is pretty amazing to me. I'm going to Google it later. I suggest we all do.
All right, well, do we finally want to break down the plot of this movie, such as it is?
Yeah, so in early 90s Harlem, there are some hitmen who go to assassinate a local drug dealer named Eddie,
who
I hope is a character from the earlier series.
He's like his second in command.
Who's second in command?
Youngblood Priests.
I thought Youngblood Priest was retired.
But like when he originally was.
Is this like a fucking Who's on First?
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to recall, because I didn't see the movie, and I had to, like, piece it together and also read, like, the first paragraph on the Wikipedia page, but Youngblood Priest,
Harrison, do you want to do a quick rundown of the first Superfly movie?
He's just like a coke dealer who wants to get a bunch of money, but also get out of the game, and then he does.
Okay, and he retires to France, where he lives for, I want to say, 10 years, running a legitimate business, and he's back in the States because his buddy, Eddie, is gunned down, and...
Buddy in quotes, because at the end of Superfly, Eddie does rat on him to the cops.
Yeah, true. Eddie
so it is kind of weird that he has flown back for Eddie's funeral.
Well, you know why, though? Eddie's dead. That's what they're doing there. There's actually a line, I think Sam Jackson does it, where he's like, Eddie's dead? And I swear he's like, that's what I said. Like, it's it's so dumb.
Which is a reference to the Curtis Mayfield song, Freddy's Dead, from the first movie, which they tried to run as a Best Original Song category, but I guess it, like, got, like, radio play before the movie came out, so it wasn't eligible
there was some bullshit reason to not give it to him, and I'm sure it went to whoever scored Dances with Wolves.
In 1972, yes.
What a waste. A waste of a vote, if you ask me.
Well, it would have been like a great back-to-back, because the year before that, obviously, Best Song went to Theme from Shaft.
Yeah.
So it would have been a great, like, back-to-back thing.
That's probably
run down the
win.
plot, Jameson. I'm going to look up who won Best Original Song in 1972.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's going to be underwhelming.
Fill the air with some bullshit while I look up the more important matter.
Tell me what happened in this film.
Okay, so Priest goes to New York City to, I assume, attend the funeral of Eddie, even though there's never a funeral that's shown.
No, he goes to figure out what the hell happened and get justice.
Yeah, to his old drug pal from 9 years ago, who I assume, who sounds like he sold him up the river, but by then he had already gotten out of the game. So he's flagged down at the airport, and he goes to meet with the witness protection people and the DEA and just all these like narcos. And they say, we want to get you back into the game so you can rat out this new drug kingpin named Hector Estrada.
That's right.
So in 1972, the winner of Best Original Song was The Morning After from the Poseidon Adventure.
Ooh, the film we all remember.
But it was up against, interestingly enough, it was up against the Michael Jackson song Ben.
What?
From the movie Ben, which of course everyone remembers is a sequel to the movie Willard about killer rats.
Oh, wow.
Well, any thoughts on what I said? Do you remember what I said?
Freddy's dead.
We should mention that Youngblood Priest in this movie is played by an actor named Nathan Purdy, who is primarily best known for soap operas.
Yeah, and he's doing like the best Ron O'Neal that he possibly can.
If that's the best Ron O'Neal that he's not good. This guy's a terrible actor.
Yeah,
he just has like zero charisma.
I wondered if he was like an athlete turned actor.
No,
because that was a staple of Blaxploitation back in the day, and I thought, well, if we're gonna like revive this franchise, let's bring back some hallmarks. We got Curtis Mayfield. We'll get an ex-football player to star in our movie.
Man, like the most damning criticism I think of any acting would be like, I thought you were an athlete turned actor. Can you imagine saying that to Daniel Day-Lewis?
I mean, he might take it as a compliment.
He would be
and then he would quit acting, and he would
lace him up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No,
he joined the NBA. Mm-hmm. He's a tall man.
Yeah. I guess if you said it after he successfully played the lead role in The Blind Side, then you'd be like that. He'd appreciate that because he's so thoroughly transformed himself into like an 8 foot tall black man to play the. No, actually, I guess the lead in that is Sandra Bullock, so he played Sandra Bullock's role.
Right, in that story about the black athlete and his trouble overcoming his terrible circumstances, the lead of that movie, of course, is Sandra Bullock.
It's Sandra Bullock.
Yes.
Yeah,
so Priest comes back. He comes back to the airport. He gets flagged because he was like a huge, big-time drug dealer, so of course they take him into the back room, and then we find out that he has kept like a lawyer on retainer this entire time.
Was he not a character in
No. He never talked to a white lawyer once in Superfly, so this is just like a character that he just knew, I guess?
Well, he certainly seemed like he knew, because I think at one point the government people threatened him with if you don't want to do something, we can make you do it, or something to that effect, and the lawyer just laughs it off. So I thought so this lawyer has been an ally of his for years, and he's known his history, and he's a recurring character in the series.
The lawyer's got his fingers in a bunch of pies, because we later
Well, it turns out he's a bad guy.
Yeah, he's in league with the villains that Priest is here to find out stuff about. So yeah, the lawyer, he's got tendrils all the way. Oh, lawyers! Oh, you can't trust them. But the important thing here is that they take Priest's passport, so he can't go back to France. Also, we find out that he gets locked up in jail for 3 days. I guess missing Eddie's funeral? Because he never goes to the funeral, but if he's upset about missing his friend's funeral, we never find out about it, because he never really mentions Eddie again.
He's way too cool to care about, the funeral. He's not going to cry at the funeral.
It's the whole reason he came to the States
he came back
place.
to rattle some cages and figure out who killed his friend Eddie.
I'm not going to bother showing up to his funeral, and he's just going to be there to avenge his death.
He's just there to, grab some guys by the lapels and be like, killed Eddie.
Thank God of the government people to give him a whole week to we'll release you.
That was so funny when they were like, okay, well, listen, if you don't take our deal, we'll let you out, but we're going to
give you a week to think about it, and then by Sunday, we want an answer. And it's like, well, that's a whole week for him to do whatever the fuck he wants to do.
Yeah, we're going to show up at the end of every act of this 3-act structure, and we are going to rough you up a little.
That's your act break. The actor break.
Yeah, it's just like, woo, we'll be right back.
It's around here that we meet our villains.
Yeah, in a very awkward transition, because so it's Hector and his guy Joey who are just on these elliptical machines talking about how their inside man gave them information about Youngblood Priest.
This movie introduces none of its characters.
No.
Like, we find out...
It's like The Wire. It's exactly like The Wire.
There we go. This was a direct ripoff of The Wire. God.
Inspiration.
Thank you, yeah. But we find out, like, eventually, like after the fact, like, who these guys are. But yeah, like, our main villains of the movie are just shown working out on these elliptical machines, and it's just like, oh, are those important characters? Should I know who this is? We see Priest, I guess, off-screen, he got keys for, like, an apartment from a buddy of his who's not a character in the movie, and he goes up to this apartment, and there's a woman taking a shower, and...
Francine.
Yeah.
Irene.
Irene.
Francine is the other character, but you would be forgiven for mixing up the names of the characters because they do not introduce this damn woman. We don't find out the name of this woman until she's long dead.
Yeah.
And like this entire time I'm all like, are they ever going to tell us the names of these fucking characters?
To paint you a picture, Priest goes to this penthouse apartment that I suppose his friend, who is not in the movie, lets him stay at. And as he enters, there's this woman who he doesn't know. She doesn't know him.
He comes onto him right away.
Well, he knocks on the shower and she greets him with a gun, and they're both cool as cucumbers. Yeah. And they're just like, "Oh, I'm Alessandro's friend." He's like, "Oh, you are? Oh, I'm so sorry. Don't worry about it. He lets me come over sometime."
I do like that they asked the question that I was thinking, do you always shower with a gun? Then she said, what did she say? Oh, she said, I watched Psycho 5 times.
Yeah. So I guess these people are both just, crashing at this guy's place.
They go where they please.
Yeah.
They let the wind carry them under their wings.
And she's like, "Hey, Alessandro left me his Corvette. Do you want him to just drive around?" And I'm thinking, like, start checking the closets to see if this woman maybe didn't murder the guy.
Or just broke in. Like, oh yeah, I'm totally friends with the guy who lives here.
It's like, the Priest needs a home base, and he needs a vehicle to drive around, and it's just like... It maybe seems like he could have worked a little bit harder to get both of those things. Yeah. But no, he's still connected, even though he hasn't been a drug dealer for... Also, we gotta talk about, like the time frame. Look, because I looked this up. So, in the 1972 movie, Ron O'Neal was 35 when he played Youngblood Priest. So, like, 2 decades have passed. It is 1990, as the song SuperFly 1990 lets us know.
Very clear about that.
Nathan Purdy in this movie, he's 40. So, like, he's only 5 years older than the guy. And so, like, how much time has passed? Why does Priest, A, not look or act like Priest anymore, and B, why is he barely older than he was in 1972? Like, they should have... If they're not going to get Ron O'Neal back, that's fine, but cast an age-appropriate actor.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug. That's, I feel like the cocaine preserved him.
Yeah, it just made his skin, like, fantastic. Something that they mentioned in this movie...
And it made him go through time faster.
Yeah.
There you go.
Something that they mentioned in this movie more than once, like, people will throw, like, a bag of cocaine, someone say, "There you go, it's for your dick."
Counselor, talk to you about your business. Thanks a lot for your help. This is for your time. And this is for your dick.
And it's all like, apparently cocaine makes you hard or whatever. It's like, I haven't done, like, a ton of cocaine, but, like, it's the opposite of that. Cocaine does bad things for your dick.
But this is why people are seeking out this particular coke. This is the one that's okay for your dick.
Right.
Yeah.
Cocaine is an anti-tumescent, as I understand it.
Yeah.
But I do feel like the first time that someone said it's for your dick, I pictured, like, a penis snorting cocaine. Like an elephant's trunk, Just drinking it up.
No, man, an elephant's trunk's like a prehensile tail. Like, it would scoop it up into your mouth. Doing lines of coke off your own dick.
I'm just telling you what I pictured.
Rubbing on my balls.
Like an elephant trunk, like penis, snorting up a bunch of cocaine. And then going...
You know what? I had
a little puff comes out of the urethra.
Yeah, it really
All right.
took me out of the film. I'm not going to.
I had a point to make, but whatever. I'm just gonna power through
that's
this
what
horseshit.
obliterated in this point,
Yeah. All right. So, like speaking of drugs, Priest wants to like follow up in some old contacts. So he meets up with Nate, who is played by Samuel Jackson.
Oh, he's in this.
He is, yeah.
We should talk about his entire
And
filmography.
he and his wife have just a nice little ma and pa outfit where they are making crack in their kitchen.
Just making it with the coffee maker, just kind of swirling it around.
In this really wholesome, domesticated looking place. Like, it looks like Breaking Bad. You know, like that this is Walter White's
And
guy.
that's something that maybe Samuel Jackson brought to the movie because he probably knew how to do that.
Yeah.
You knew how to make
During this
crack.
point in time, yeah.
Yeah, so Priest shows up at Nate's place, and he wants to know like how what's different about the way things are done here. And Samuel Jackson just has this like downturn, like, man, things just haven't been the same since you left. You know, like we're not all looking out for ourselves. We're all working for Hector now, who has this very rigidly structured where everything's made in the residential areas because the cops never check here. Everything is just sold to like all these isolated dealers. And it kind of sounds like, you know, as much as Estrada is the bad guy, he's keeping the streets safe and clean.
To an extent.
To an extent, yeah. But like
Also selling all the crack.
while also selling all the crack and everything. But like all the money is going back into the neighborhood to keep the kids from, you know, getting mixed up into trouble.
And we find out
I don't know.
And we find out that Estrada is also basically like the middleman as well too, because he answers to like higher like Colombian cartels and everything. And everything's kind of done through there.
Yeah, but I just get the vibe, and this is like reinforced when Youngblood goes to that bar, just asking the one bartender, like, man, this used to be the place where you could find your connections. I don't recognize anybody here anymore. And the bartender gets pretty mad at him and says, like man, like things are done differently now. And I'm thinking, so if this is like a gentle ecosystem where like maybe things are less violent now, and addicts are properly regulated, I think maybe they got rid of Eddie as a way to maintain that peace.
Yeah, and that's why Priest is here, because he's bringing the violence
He's
back.
bringing violence and torment back into the streets.
Look,
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, just because, you know, like it's relevant that it's SuperFly 1990 because, you know, like the 80s were a big cocaine era, and so, you know, you go through the 70s and the 70s and the 80s, and there are these big drug eras that have kind of been like, they haven't been, you know, stopped. The war on drugs is still ongoing and will eventually lose, but, you know, the cocaine era is over. So, you know, Priest coming back, like it's that he's kind of this ghost of the cocaine era, and everybody's just like, we don't do that anymore. Like that's not the way we do it anymore. Like it's crack now, and it's uglier, and it's, you know,
Okay.
you know, and like, yeah, like it's in the suburbs now, and like that's not a cute thing or a safe thing. Like that's something that's obviously supposed to frighten white people, right? It's like, and look, it's made right here in your backyard.
Yeah.
It's made here.
I mean, I
in
can't say this movie
communities
was made with white audiences in mind.
No, but like it kind of was, right? Like it was made with, you know, like an understanding that just like that era is over, and that now, you know, like all of that stuff, like all these kind of like grimy aspects of society are beginning to flood into these white neighborhoods, and they're not even American anymore, right? Like, and now all the drugs are coming from somewhere else. Like the whole game has changed. Like the world is different. These aren't our drugs. These aren't our drug dealers. You know. So
yeah, at least you could say that these are from like our neighborhood. These are American.
These are our drug dealers. But, you know, now suddenly it's Colombians, and it's scary to people. Like it's just, you know, like, obviously this movie is not smart, but it does at least understand that, you know, like drugs have gone international in a different way, and the cocaine era is mostly over, and so the return of Youngblood Priest is like, you know, like a really jarring blast from the past. It's like, oh my god, like what is this?
Yeah, to maintain order.
Yeah, like, what is this like streetwise 70s pimp doing back?
And not to
It's
not
1990.
to jump ahead to the end of the movie, but Youngblood Priest doesn't really make things better.
No.
In fact, his presence sort of it makes the whole situation...
He incites gang wars.
Much worse.
Yes, he does, yes.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that, because I have some thoughts on that.
Yeah.
One of the most interesting scenes that I found from the 72 Superfly is the still image montage that happens in that set to Pusher Man. I mean, like, there's a couple of scenes set to Pusher Man, but the movie stops for a minute and it stops becoming a film. It stops becoming moving pictures, and it just switches over to pictures for a while. And over the course of the song, we just see a bunch of still images of dealers going out to the streets and selling cocaine to black people, selling cocaine to white people, selling it to construction workers and dudes with pipes, and it makes cocaine look really fun. It makes cocaine look like a blast. It makes like a thing that you want to do, and you have like a lot of fun doing it. And yeah, I feel like the passage of time, and of course SuperFly spoke to a lot of black audiences, but there were also just as many black audiences that came out against it as well and said, like, this is really showing like black people in like a negative light and everything. And from my basic uneducated standpoint, it's sort of a message movie about, well, being like a successful drug dealer is all Priest could aspire to, given the lot in life that society and the man has put him in.
A product of his circumstances.
Yeah.
Like his escape from those circumstances is the triumph.
Right. And that's mostly gone in this movie, and what's left is kind of just depressing and scummy, but that's also, the 90s.
And that's what happens when you remove Gordon Parks and now Sig Shore is in charge.
Right, well, he was the only one left.
I think he's a streetwise pimp.
I think the other two directors had died at that point, so I think Sig Shore was all we had left. So he certainly couldn't have hired another black filmmaker.
No, he wasn't smart enough to think that maybe the story would be
because as we know, James Bond III was busy at the time, so
yeah. So Priest goes back to see his lawyer to say no update, and while he's there, he picks up one of the lawyer's clients. That's Francine.
That's Francine, played by recent Oscar nominee Margaret Avery from The Color Purple. 5 years earlier, she was nominated for Best Supporting Actress, and then now she's here. Now she's in this, and Francine is like a club owner.
Yep.
Like, she owns the bar that Priest goes to earlier.
Yeah. Who had like a relationship with Estrada. Oh yeah.
She had a relationship with Eddie. Not Estrada is the crime lord.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Their name's supposed to start with E.
Right. That makes sense.
That's where my confusion comes
totally.
from. Yeah. Implies that she never slept with him, but Estrada's goons are watching her because I guess her club is where a lot of deals get made, get done.
We see them being followed by two white cops who we later find out are not cops and also are named Mike and Ike.
Are they really?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Those are those characters' names.
Yeah. Which I think is a joke that they bring back in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Because there's like a...
Because it's an easy fucking joke to make.
Yeah.
So he drops Francine off. He's followed by the two not cops. They tail him to an alley where they start beating the crap out of him. Then an actual cop who's a DEA agent, we find out in a later scene, shows up and he scares them away. And we think, oh, this guy's going to be a character. Not really. No, we kind of never see him again. Outside of that one scene. But it was important to show that there's one good white man out there.
Yeah, that's often a requirement when a white guy funds your film. It's like, well, you can't just say all the white people are bad. Like, what if, after the 12 years of being a slave, I come, I, Brad Pitt, the producer of this film, as like a nice guy from, I'm going to say Canada?
Right, because everyone's nice in Canada. No racism exists in Canada.
And then I just free you. How about if that's what happens? And then...
What if Kevin Costner walks over and takes the sign down?
Yeah. How about that? That's a good Hidden Figures reference. I'm going to high-five Jameson because we've sound tested that. All right.
That's what I do when I drop my Hidden Figures references. I only talk about the white characters. You know who's great in that movie is Jim Parsons.
Oh my God.
It took me a second because I couldn't remember what his name was.
It's incredible that you can name two white actors from Hidden Figures and racist, frankly.
Hold on to your butts because I'm about to name three. Kirsten Dunst.
Oh my God. Oh yeah,
that's it. That's all the white people in Hidden Figures.
Probably is.
They got their quota.
No, because they get pulled over by a police officer.
Yeah, but that's not an actor.
Are you sure?
Anyway. That's just an actual cop. They actually got pulled over at the start of the movie, and they're just like...
keep rolling!
It's like, and you say your names are Octavia Spencer, Janelle Monáe, and the third one? Is that true?
Taraji P. Henson, the star of the movie.
I could not... I was like, I know it's not Viola Davis, and my brain was like, Viola Davis. And I was like, no, brain, it's not Viola Davis.
Wow.
And then it was like, I'm just going to say Viola Davis... And so I had to say the third one.
We've got it here on Mike. Harrison Mooney thinks all black actresses are Viola Davis.
They should be.
Do you guys need me to be here?
Yes! We need you to keep on track, otherwise we'll never get through the plot of this movie.
Man, I'm too polite to interrupt you guys like that. So, Irene dies. She gets shot in the penthouse by...
We find out her name is Irene.
Yeah. So she goes back to the penthouse, and she's gunned down by Estrada's goons who really want to put the screws on Priest, because they just assume that he's in town to fuck up their whole organization because they killed some random drug dealer in there.
Kind of is.
Yeah. And, Priest encounters the corpse at the penthouse just in time for the cops to show up and arrest him for the wrongful murder of this woman.
And in any other situation like this, the Priest would be completely fucked, but luckily that random white guy you met in the alley earlier was a DEA agent, and he gets him off, and again, we think like, oh, the DEA agent's gonna be in this movie, and he's not.
No.
But he got Priest out of jail, which means that the scene where he was arrested by the cops was entirely necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually the DEXA, because it stands for, DEMA. It stands for Deus
Ex Machina Agency.
I fucked it up, but
I got
what's important is...
It was great.
I should have said the DEA stands for Deus Ex of America. Deus Ex Agency.
It was worth doing another pass of that, Joe. It really was.
Yeah.
I'm glad you took that swing.
And Priest just reiterates that he's going to go after these crumb bums his own way.
That's what he says.
That's the language he uses.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I got my finger on the pulse.
Okay. I'm just going to come on to that. Can we talk about Joey yet?
He's coming up. I was just going to say we cut to Hector and Joey enjoying a nice hot tub together. Yeah, Joey. I remember the night before I watched this, you texted me and you said, "Oh, get ready for Joey. Joey's probably my favorite character in the movie." Now, were you being sarcastic?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I love this performance.
Because that text could be could be interpreted either way.
Okay, so I did not get to Joey. So
Right.
you are going to have to describe or perhaps impersonate.
You didn't watch the movie?
I told you in the outtakes that I didn't.
I don't know, Jameson, is there anything distinctive about Joey? Does he have, like, a thing? Did the actor make, like, a choice? Is there, like, a specific thing that Joey does that like, we could maybe, like...
You know damn well there is. What do you want me to get to?
Just set me up.
Okay, alright, fine. Much like Fran Drescher and Seth Rogen, this gentleman has a very distinct laugh.
Oh, do you mean this laugh?
It reminds me of my first car. Holy fuck.
Can we have that again? Is it possible to have that one more time?
I didn't have it queued up. Hold on.
Alright, give it... Okay, so now make a joke about Jameson's hair and then play that clip.
So, Joey. This actor definitely made a choice. I want to briefly talk about this actor. The actor's name is Leonard L. Thomas, much like Samuel L. Jackson. We went for the thing. His early career, his first 3 movies are the same Spike Lee movies that Samuel L. Jackson was in. He was in School Days, he was in Do the Right Thing, he was in Mo Better Blues, and then he's in this movie, Return of SuperFly. So he does 4 movies with Samuel L. Jackson at the beginning of his career. Then Samuel L. Jackson goes off, and he does Pulp Fiction, and he does some other things. And then Leonard Thomas stays with Spike Lee, and he does a bunch of other Spike Lee movies that Sam Jackson isn't in. He's in Malcolm X, he's in Clockers, he's in Girl 6. But then, from 1996 to 2006, he's exclusively in Samuel L. Jackson movies.
Oh, interesting.
He just has like a run there where every movie Samuel L. Jackson does, Leonard L. Thomas is in a small role. So I looked into this.
He's like a stunt double?
He's his personal assistant.
Yeah, there you go.
He becomes his personal assistant, he becomes his stand-in, and for like a while there, it always comes with like little bit parts. Which includes, I won't go through all the things, But
Thank God.
in addition to it, it includes a brief appearance in Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones as Jedi Master Roth del Masona.
Whoa, he's one of the
Jedi.
the great black Jedis.
Which means that for a time, until the sequel series where they introduced a bunch more black characters, he was one of 3 black actors to have an action figure.
Oh my God.
And he's in the movie, I guess, for maybe like 2. He's uncredited, but like he's in the thing. He has a Wikipedia page.
He's on a Wikipedia page.
That probably means there's a book about him.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Right?
So yeah, I'm just really kind of like tickled by the idea that this guy who plays kind of the lead villain of this movie.
The muscle, like the
muscle, but he's more of a character than Hector is. I'd say he's more of the main antagonist than Hector is. He's sort of like the driving thing that Priest is trying to like go across. So like he's like one of the main villains of this movie. Mm-hmm. And then the guy who plays a supporting role goes on to become one of the most successful actors in history, and then he
brings along this guy.
For a time becomes his personal assistant. And look, I don't want to make any dispersions. I'm sure they are fast friends, which must be the reason
they bonded over
why they bonded over being in this.
I imagine they also bonded with Billy D. Williams over that.
There you go, yeah. It's something to talk about when all 3 of those guys go to a Star Wars convention, and hey, there's your icebreaker. We got a letter as our middle name. How about that?
Initial guys.
I would bet dollars to donuts that Samuel L. Jackson has never graced a Star Wars convention in his life.
I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe that for a second.
Nah, he seems like the kind of guy
who shows up for the payday. He's absolutely on the
He's not going to say no to it.
He shows up for the payday if you have acting for him to do. He just surrounded by all those nerds. You just be all like, I want to go golf. I want to get out of here.
He's never said no to a gig.
Yeah, exactly. No, he's showing up because Jackson has admirable shamelessness. He will do.
He seems like the kind of guy who, if he knows he's gonna have fun for the day, he'll just do it. Like, oh hell yeah, I'll get eaten by a shark. Yeah. Hell yeah, I'll be on a plane full of snakes.
Yeah, you're Mace Windu and you're not gonna go to a Star Wars convention.
You want me to be the guy responsible for the Emperor's scars? Okay, sure, yeah.
He's got a purple lightsaber. You only do that if you want to hang out with nerds.
You want me to be the guy who bosses around the Avengers? Yeah, sure, why not?
And I'm just realizing we did Arnold. And then we did Mark Hamill, and then we did a co-star from The Terminator, and now we're doing a co-star from Star Wars. So we need to maybe get off of this train. I didn't actually mean to do that. That's my bad.
Yeah.
So what happens in The Return of Superfly, Jameson? You need to keep us on track.
Yeah. Where am I? Oh, Jesus. The next thing I have written down in my notes is Priest meets Francine at the club. She tells him to be careful. He kisses her, and I guess now they're a thing, having just met each other, and him giving her a lift from point A to point B. Now they're an item.
There was an attraction there from the beginning. It felt palpable. I mean, how can you turn down the raw sexual charisma of Nathan Purdy? It just emanates off of him. He's so charismatic.
With his Lionel Richie mustache and everything.
Lionel Richie hair.
Lionel Richie build.
Yeah, he's always saying hello.
So Hector's goons go after him, so he gets into a cab. Cabbie smokes the biggest blunt of all time, and
there's a Rastafarian cab driver.
Right.
Yeah.
And he gives him the slip. That's one of our few action scenes in this movie.
And then Francine tries to sneak out the back, but the thugs capture her, and she's like taken to be interrogated by Joey and Mike and Ike, the 2 white cops. And Francine swears that she has no idea where Priest is. And Joey's all like, oh, well, maybe I'll leave you with these guys. And then things get super uncomfortable.
It's like the trademark Nothing Movies rape scene.
And we're left to assume that some sexual assault happened with Francine, and this is bolstered by the fact that in a scene later, Priest goes to confront Francine, and she's obviously shaken by this, and he holds her in his arms, and he says, like, everything's going to be all right, and she says, like, I'm going to be tormented by this for years, I'm going to have to go to all this therapy, and of course I'm bullshitting, none of this happens, we don't see her again until the end credits! She disappears from the movie!
I honestly thought to myself, shit, was there a scene I forgot?
Did she get dead?
Wow, this
for a while, I thought they killed Francine, but then she shows up at the end, and they're in Paris,
and everything's hunky-dory.
They're spinning around, and there's no trauma or PTSD PTSD to be found. She's totally fine.
Yeah.
Oscar nominee.
Yeah, the only thing worse than, like, you know, white directors doing blaxploitation is men writing women, I think. They'll just be like, she's probably fine, right? She's fine. Let's just move right past it.
Oh, God. What?
She's got a good man now, so everything's okay.
Yeah, he incited a gang war, and he made a bunch of drug addicts sick. So, at one point, Priest learns of Eddie's buddy Willie, who is brother of some distraught Vietnam War veterans, so he has all of these guns.
I thought he was a Vietnam veteran.
I think he mentioned that it was his brother.
Oh, okay.
And that's how he taught him everything about explosives and guns.
Yeah, so he's our demolition expert. He's like our Q.
Yeah, you need
to
a guy
an extent.
He's like, outside of like maybe throwing a few punches, Priest doesn't do a hell of a lot in this movie. It's mainly Willie. Willie's the like boots on the ground, setting up the explosives, holding people at gunpoint.
Well, it's interesting. Until like the ending of this movie, Priest doesn't actually kill a lot of people over the course of the movie. I don't think he kills anyone in Superfly.
He's a legitimate businessman, Kaz.
Yeah.
He's not just doing murders.
But he left that life behind him.
He's done.
Yeah. And then he has a bit of a body count by the end of this movie, but it's largely because people are shooting at him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he kind of gets other people to do his dirty work for him, to an extent. We'll get to that. I have an issue with some of Priest's choices in this movie. I think it might be fair to say. Yeah. But yeah, we meet Willie, and then they like hatch a plan to
kidnap Joey.
To kidnap Joey. Yeah, they kidnap Joey in the car park. And Joey spends a lot of the movie tied up to a chair. Spends a lot of the movie in the trunk of their car.
Yep. Every time they need to transition to a new scene, there's always Joey in the back of the car. Yeah. They always threaten to kill him. Even though Willie says that he's a non-violent person, he's got like the biggest body count and like openly tortures a guy throughout the movie. So Joey, he gives up a lot of information about Estrada's gang, tells him like where most of the cocaine is being stored, gives up the name of the two crooked cops. So Priest can lure them to a field and distract them with some kids doing some sweet BMX moves.
I want to talk about this. Yeah. So Mike and Ike are they're parked in their cop car. I guess they're waiting for
Joey to show up.
He
sets it up, yeah.
Stuff. And Willie is sneaking up. He's doing like the army crawl or whatever because he wants to plant some nitro
C4
or whatever under their car. And he's able to do this because the cops are distracted by a kid on doing sweet BMX tricks. Now here's my question. Did Willie know that kid? Or is that just like a random happenstance? Did he like call that guy ahead of time to say, hey, come and do like these tricks in this alley? Or was that just like a random kid who saw an off-duty police car and just decided, you know what?
I got an audience now.
I'm gonna go blow their fucking mind.
Show these cops what I can do.
Yeah. And it works. They give him they give him applause at one point here, and yeah.
You know, he just knew that like at this time of night in this part of town, there's one super skilled kid that comes by and does some sweet tricks on his bike.
So like this is my vacant alley. This is where I lay my grease down, and no one's gonna stop me. The cops aren't gonna stop me. An explosion isn't gonna stop me. I need to fucking Dave Mirra the shit out of this.
Might I add, you know, the cop car does blow up in a spectacular explosion.
I mean, it's always great when a car gets blown up. You know.
It is, but like I thought, like holy shit, like they really went to the fucking town and like spared no expense on this. And yet, as the movie goes on, and some storefronts that are run by the other drug dealers, they also get blown up in spectacular fashion. The pyrotechnics budget on this film are, like, nothing to sneeze at.
It's the only thing they spent money on.
Yeah. And yet, like, I watched The Cleaner not too long ago, in a film that probably had twice the budget and was made, I don't know, possibly 20 years later. This movie, The Return of Superfly, has more action, more of a special effects budget.
More thrills, more chills, it's hot as ice!
More locations than The Cleaner. So, I think this is a testament to the power of independent filmmaking. That you can, like, squeeze some diamonds out of a very tiny budget, whereas something that was made a couple of years later, like, the budget probably went towards the cast, but no, in terms of, like, if I were to compare the two movies, Return of Superfly, you know, you did a little bit more with a little less.
They blew stuff up better.
Yeah, what I will say is that the filmmaking is pretty consistent over the course of these three movies, and by that I mean They all look like shit.
Oh,
They all look terrible.
Well, at one point I wrote down, why does a movie that looked like it was shot in 1989 look like it was shot with the same cameras used for the 1970s version?
Yeah, it's very cheaply made. Except for the explosions, I guess.
Except for the explosions.
So Willie distracts this security guard at, like, a boat storage facility?
Yeah, beside the wharf.
How many times does Willie have to distract somebody?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot of the time. Well, he's actually doing, like, the distracting this time. He didn't call in fucking... I already said Dave Mirra.
Bike kid.
Jameson, who's another famous BMXer?
I am.
Okay.
No, I'm
Jameson Rafter.
Yeah.
They go to this marina because it's one of the fronts for the business, for Estrada's business.
It's where they store most of the coke.
It's where they, I guess, like, mix the coke, and Priest sneaks up, and he goes into, like, the coke facility, and he fucks with the coke. He mixes something into the coke.
I had no idea what, but it could have been, like, baking sugar or whatever.
Yeah,
He adulterates it.
He made it bad, and this is maybe the biggest issue I have with this movie. Look, Priest is an anti-hero. He's not meant to be a good guy. He's a drug dealer. He does, like, bad things. He threatens to put people's wives on the streets to hook for money that they need and everything. But this is repellent because he, like, especially in, like, the age of, like, fentanyl getting, like, mixed into, like, people's drugs and stuff like that, and people, like, overdosing and stuff. He just, like, mixes whatever into this cocaine, and it's his plan to get back at the drug dealers.
Yeah, to drive down demand.
It's ruining their street cred, is what it's doing.
Community.
But he doesn't fucking care who he hurts. He doesn't care who he poisons. We see, like, multiple people buy the cocaine and then immediately get sick and start vomiting. It's all like numerous people could have died from this. But Priest doesn't care because Priest has to get his non-specific revenge on a guy he didn't really care for in the first place. He's an asshole!
I want you to go up to Priest and be like, a lot of people could have died because of what you did.
Oh,
What a shame,
They
Priest.
didn't.
And your name is Priest.
What a contradiction. Or appropriate.
May I call you Youngblood? Where does Youngblood come from? Because they don't really call him Youngblood Priest, even though he's credited as Youngblood Priest. I feel like...
Yeah, he's one of those cool guys who you call by their last name.
Right.
He's so cool, right? But, like, Youngblood is one of those kind of, like nicknames that... like,
They give to men in their 40s.
Yeah, like old man give to young man.
Sure.
You know, like, hey, young
It's an
blood.
ironic name.
Yeah, so
Right.
Youngblood Priest is the funniest name. Like, it feels like
We never find out if he had a different name. He legally changed his name to Youngblood Priest.
it just feels like a bunch of nicknames, and he just was like, "That's my name."
It's a Childish Gambino situation. He had he had like an aggregator that like gave him the two things.
Youngblood Priest.
Back to the break-in at the marina. The reason that Priest, aka Youngblood Priest, gets away with
I'm
it...
glad you clarified.
He has Willie distract the guard, as Willie is wont to do. He goes in as a mechanic, who's there to work after hours on a boat. Security guard says, hey, we got no work order for this. And Willie says, all right, fuck it, I'm out of here. To which the security guard goes, wait, come back.
Hey, what's up?
How you doing?
I'm the mechanic they sent to fix the Formula One before morning.
Nobody told me.
Okay, all right. Peace.
Hey, yo. Nobody said you had to leave, all right? I mean, relax. And what do I know?
Man, I hate when they do that.
Yeah, they never let the right hand know what the left hand is doing. You know which one it is?
Yeah, it's right over there.
Okay, I'll be right here when you want to leave.
Okay, cool.
This is a very lax security guard, who's probably angling to get fired. So he's like, okay, well, nothing in the rulebook on this. You know what? Just go on in here and fuck around with
It's
some
okay.
boats.
I'm trying to get fired.
Why don't you go in and touch the boats? Whatever it is you want to do to the boats.
Yeah, I'm only the night guard.
Do you want to fuck the boats? I fuck the boats. Why don't you come on in and see about fucking some boats?
Whatever you do, don't take a pee out that back door. Everything else is fine.
Well, Priest, being not that skilled of a B&E artist, sets off the alarm. Dude breaks in with a bright yellow jacket and... And Willie's only able to cover his ass by pretending to have opened the fire escape, and so he can piss out the door.
Oh, I thought, like, Willie did that on purpose so Priest could escape. You know what? None of it matters.
I think it's
Truly none of it matters.
It's a little bit both, because the guard really chews him out for that for, like, what seems like a solid 5 minutes.
It's like a long scene.
It is.
Listen, here are the reasons. You
Mostly
can't be at the
improvised,
store.
yeah.
So, Priest fucks up Estrada's shit. He still has Joey tied up in the trunk, or sometimes he's not. Sometimes Joey's just sitting in a chair and has access to guns, and he can, like, reach them or whatever, and Priest just slaps them out of his hand. And there's, like, some more boring shit where, like, Estrada goes to talk to the lawyer, and they're all like, oh, what are we going to do about this priest? And then people are getting sick, and we see people buying cocaine, and one guy trades a little bit of coke for his jacket, and then he comes back and says, give me my jacket back, and he chases the dealer up to the roof, and the guy falls off.
The dude is sick, and he's still, like, got his gun out chasing after the dealer as they run up the staircase. And then the kid falls off a building to his death. I don't know, like, for scenes that are set up and justified, they seem like they're from a completely different movie. But they're hilarious.
Somewhere in here we forgot to mention Samuel L. Jackson gets killed.
Oh, yeah.
We might want to, like, talk about him a little bit here. But yeah, Joey and his thugs kill Nate before sending his wife away.
My note on that is that when they're asking him, like, where's Priest? Where's Priest? I don't know, man. I don't know. Joey puts his gun in Samuel Jackson's mouth and leads him to the hallway, and I'm like, oh, shit. Joey's going to kill Samuel Jackson. But it's one of the other goons who shoots him from across the hallway, even though someone's already got a gun in his mouth. I just thought that was an odd choice.
Wasteful.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they just didn't have the budget to blow out the back of Samuel L. Jackson's head. Although, I did appreciate the actual practical squibs that are in this movie. This last squib, people get shot a lot, and it explodes, and I like it. It's great to see. I love to see it.
Like I'm saying, huge explosions, good squib work. Yeah.
So the thugs show up eventually. They kill Willie. Joey gets loose. He takes a little bit of cocaine. Says Priest is going to come back. We're going to get him.
But he doesn't realize the cocaine's the stuff that makes people sick.
Willie's not quite dead, so he shoots one of the thugs. Priest hears it, and there's like a big shootout. There's a pretty funny scene where like the other thug is like running around the house trying to find Priest, and then Priest, it turns out he's hiding on top of a dresser, and he fills the guy full of lead, but the fucking actor is just like standing there stiff as a board.
Yeah.
And it's just all like, oh, I've been shot 8 times now. I guess I'll fall down.
I mean, those are just like the production mistakes that are common enough in the Blaxploitation films that they had to do in the 70s, because, like, out of necessity, maybe not having like the most money for an editing crew. Just like, we'll take like 1 million different takes of this and we'll use the best one that we got.
Movie's fucking excuse?
Well, that's the thing. Like, it's definitely not a throwback to events like that. Like, it's no Black Dynamite where they are intentionally recreating some of the production value,
so
production mistakes.
When I was watching this movie, I wish I was watching Black Dynamite. Get me on a plane to Kung Fu Island, please. Yeah, and then Joey chases Priest down the streets, but he's vomiting profusely from his mouth.
And then a couple of old timers yell at him.
Yeah, Ruby Dee and Ossie Davis from Do the Right Thing. No, there's not actually them. It's an old man and an old lady, and they're on a stoop, and they're all like, hey, stop that. Get the fuck out of here. And then the neighborhood swallows Joey whole.
So we band together, and they take Joey out by engulfing him. The neighborhood will take no more of this, even though I'm under the impression that the crime lords are keeping things relatively peaceful. I don't know.
And then Priest, mortally wounded with a bullet in the arm, I guess tiptoes away. And there's like one final shot where we find out that Estrada ratted on his Colombian cartel or whatever.
Well, Priest left him with no other option.
Yeah, and then we smash cut to Paris, and Francine and Priest are spinning around, and everything's fine, and everything worked out. Hey, there we go.
Yeah, huzzah.
All right, we've been running so long. There's nothing else we want to talk about.
There's a lot of bad lines that I wanted to bring up in this. When they're tying up Joey, they strap him with nitroglycerin collar, where if he moves his neck too much, he'll explode. They set this up by Priest asking Willie, will it explode? To which Willie replies, like the space shuttle. Because that was on people's mind.
Oh, boy, that was topical.
Yeah.
They actually went back and reshot that line because they wanted to add more current events.
Yeah. Oh, and another thing I wanted to mention was in the scene where a lot of the drug addicts are getting sick. There's this one guy who goes up to buy a bump from this one guy on the stoop, and the way that he asks for drugs is probably how I would do it, being the not streetwise person that I am. You are the man? Are you the man? he asks them.
You are the man, right?
And this character...
And I hope to get something special for the dick.
Well, I just hope it's something special for the dick.
Yes,
I want something for the dick.
Character who is specifically giving coke for his dick because we see him throwing up in the toilet and his girlfriend's all like, from his dick, and his girlfriend's all like, it's okay, baby, it doesn't really matter, but it's all like, they keep coming back to this. Cocaine apparently is for the dick. Yeah.
Well, good evening, sir. I am to understand that I can acquire the cocaine that is good for the penis.
This is his dick talking? He's got a little top hat on him?
That's me with my disguise as a penis.
You don't got any of that dick coke.
Yeah, coke for the dick.
Drive by cocaine now and just be all like, this is for the dick, right? Oh my God.
This will help my penis, right? That's why I'm getting it. My wife said it's for the penis. Is this
here? It's for the
penis.
He's going to an alley. He's all like, "What do you recommend for the dick?"
Like, well, I have cocaine. Is that for the dick? I just have cocaine.
It could be. Depends on how you use it.
What's it worth to you? What's your dick worth to you?
Oh, we gotta be done, right?
Yeah, I think
can't. There's nothing else we gotta talk about. Okay,
no,
we gotta wrap up. All right, so that was the return of Superfly. Harrison, Jameson, does this movie have a certain something, or is it just a whole lot of nothing? Over to you.
Yeah,
I mean, it is a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah.
But why? Why is there a whole lot of nothing?
No, just a generally bad film. Just a bad film all around. It's trampling on the legacy of the original Superfly, when that was already done a couple of times, or I guess once at that point.
Yeah, but like a sequel that no one remembered.
No one remembered.
So it's like they could have been fine. They didn't have to go back to this particular well.
No.
They didn't need to remind people of Superfly. People knew what Superfly was, and they liked it just fine.
Yeah, I will say though, in this movie's defense, every Sam Jackson scene,
he kills
pretty
it.
good.
Yeah,
pretty
he kills
good.
it. He's only in like 3 scenes, and he never leaves that one location. But yeah, from the second you see him, when he goes to like answer the door, and he's all like, "Priest, is that you?" And it's like, yeah, man, this is an actual fucking actor. Like he can. Maybe it's just like the nostalgia thing of just all like, I love hearing his voice. He has a good way of like delivering dialogue.
Well, I was gonna say there's an authenticity to the way that he's doing, because like he's making drugs. Like, he has like that history with him, but like he's also talented enough to just be a solid presence in the scene where he's commanding like all the screen time.
I will say
sorry. So I'm just thinking that like that history with it is informing. I'm sure he's met plenty of friendly drug dealers.
I will say I don't know if Samuel L. Jackson knows how to make crack.
No,
he just did crack.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but again, he's an actor. I don't know if he's like a method. He's probably not a method actor. He probably shits on method acting.
Absolutely not.
He's absolutely the opposite of a method actor. Yeah,
Which is why he's just swishing his crack around.
That's how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
No,
right?
I
you
thought
put it in the coffee machine and you
swish it around, and then
swish
now
it
you
around.
got a bunch of crack.
That's how the Coke comes out. That's how you get the rock.
You make it the same way you make
Yeah.
Tang.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like this. I don't know. This
in a coffee maker.
I just wanted to say this movie is poorly made, seems very ill-advised. Samuel Jackson is like a really good get for this kind of movie, because it like outside of like well done shots of like the explosions and the gunfight work, it's a very boring movie where not a hell of a lot happens. The stuff that does happen is hard to follow. But I mean, outside of like some good action sequences, this fucking sucks. But the action scenes and the special effects shots are good and well done.
Explosion's good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sam Jackson good. Editing terrible. There's a scene at the beginning where like a cop leads Priest into his office. Like for the kind of the first scene, he just leads him in, and then like Youngblood like knocks his arm away. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Except that they like didn't give us a shot where you could see the officer's hand on his back. So like he's just like this way, and then Youngblood's just like bah, like. But like I didn't know why he did that.
He was swatting at a fly.
He saw a mayfly. Yeah, he's like, get the fuck out of here. Yeah.
And so yeah, like the worst thing in a movie is when you have to be like, oh, he must have had his hand on his back. Like you're like a really like assume generously.
Yeah, it's a movie that makes you do the heavy lifting. Yeah.
Yeah, the editing is terrible, and so that's why it's hard to follow all sorts of things.
Well, this is our longest episode ever. Harrison, thank you so much for coming out for talking about this movie with us. Just generally being yourself and just being the raconteur that we needed here. I mean, God, it's just awesome to hang out with you, man. It's been a while. Last time you were on this show was the episode that we recorded right before everything shut down for COVID.
Oh, is this an omen? I mean, you almost died last night.
Of like good things to come. Clearly, yeah. That's how it happens.
You also have the rare distinction of being the only guest who has been on all 3 of our iterations of doing a podcast.
Right?
Yeah. I'm on all your podcasts.
Our fucking 24.
Our Jack Bauer Power Hour.
What I think you guys should do the next time that I'm on is we could watch like a good movie. Like I don't know.
We can do that.
Is that something that happens on this podcast?
Stranger things have happened.
It might not be.
I will offer the olive branch now. I asked you to be on this episode. If there is an actor whose career you want to talk about, pitch it now, and we'll either do a trilogy on them or we'll do a one-off. And you can come back and you can talk about any actor that you want to talk about.
Okay.
You don't have to answer now. You can think on it. But yeah, complete open invitation. But for right now, Invisible Boy. It comes out on September 20th.
Yeah.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Do you want to take a minute to tell the folks at home what it's about and
where they can get it,
and just generally plug that and anything else that you want to.
Oh yeah, apologies in advance for this tone shift, but Invisible Boy is a memoir about my transracial adoption. I was adopted into a white fundamentalist Christian family, and as you can understand, I didn't receive any answers or guidance or explanation for just all of the weird shit that happened to me over my life, the stuff that if I had any black people in my life would have been explained. And I might have been given some strategies to deal with it in the future, or to like maintain a sense of self-worth. And instead, I just had to muddle my way through and figure all that out on my own. It is, I've been told, a very sad book, but also a very funny book. And so if what you're looking for is something that will make you laugh and make you cry at the same time in a way that makes you feel weird.
And
in a way that no other book before has.
No.
And maybe, just maybe, make you think.
It probably, it's gonna do that, Kaz.
And make you feel.
It's gonna change your mind about things.
And make you hurt.
And it's physically painful to read.
You sure you don't want us to write the foreword for you?
I'm positive.
Horny? I don't know. I ran out of adjectives.
No. But I will say that the book does have a sex scene in it, and it is the least sexy sex scene you will ever read. And I'm very proud to have incorporated the phrase "turgid vasculature." Yeah, and I put it in, and
I don't even know what that means, but I love it.
That's a chapter title.
Turgid vasculature. Buy my book. You can buy it really anywhere that books are sold. I like to recommend Massey Books and Iron Dog Books here in Vancouver, but you can also get it like Chapters or from me if you come to my house.
Yeah.
But don't tell people where I live.
Gotcha.
If you click on the show notes of this episode, we'll include a link to where you can click on the pre-sale for the book. I wanted you to come on the show, a little closer to the book's launch. It's currently June right now when you're listening to this. I have no idea when you, fair listener, are listening to this episode. The book might be available. It could be 5 years from now when you're reading this in the future, in which case, don't buy crypto. But
if it survived the mass book burning, check it out.
But at the very least, you can pre-order. If you're listening to this when it drops, at the very least, you can pre-order the book. I've spent like the past year and a half going on walks with you. You've been telling me about the birth of this book, the process of it, of just like the fascinating life you've lived, and you just have such amazing stories, and they come from your truth in your life, and to a certain extent your trauma, and something like very personal that you're still dealing with and processing right now. But it seems like you have found a way to channel that into a really exciting piece of art, and I can't wait to read it. You gave me the opportunity of reading like a draft on a thumb drive, and I said, like, no, I want to wait for the book's out. I want my own copy. I want to crack that spine.
Oh, yeah.
I want you to write something in the front, and I want to have like my Mooney original.
Yeah.
So I can't wait. Can't wait to get that book. You should all get the book too. And that was The Return of Superfly, directed by Sig Shore. If you like this episode, please check out our back catalog of episodes where the podcast was called The Fuck Is This? It's basically exactly like this, except we don't really talk about like an actor's filmography. It's just us bullshitting for a movie. I don't know. We gotta wrap things up. We'd like to thank Eddie Lamb for his fantastic theme music. We'd like to thank Joel Flynn and Luke Schuss and everyone at Podstream Studios.
Even though we're not recording it.
Even though we're not there right now, but I like to give them a shout out anyway because, it's the end. I like to fill this stuff up with. Now, if you like the episode, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and all of the other stuff. Next episode, it's something with Samuel L. Jackson in it.
Yeah.
We're going to keep going because that's the concept of the show.
That's the nature of trilogies. There's got to be a middle at one point.
Yep. At some point, you hit the nail on the head. And, I guess there's really nothing left to say other than for Nothing Movies, I'm Kaz.
I'm Jameson.
And I'm Harrison Mooney.
You are. And I'm glad to have you back. I promised myself I was gonna memorize the Ezekiel 24 or whatever the fuck he said.
We got 2 more episodes.
Yeah, give me time. All right. Blessed is he. That's all I got so far.
You know what? Blessed is he.
There you go.
That's our new sign off. Blessed is he, everyone.